So, just got the Gerber Drive in today. Uh, the Armbar Drive. This is the not the cork. There's a Gerber Armbar cork, which actually has a couple of implements for opening wine bottles. I don't drink wine. Can't really. I seem to have a weird allergy to it. But so I got the drive, and this thing is actually pretty slick. I have the Gerber Center Drive, which is a multi-tool that has a wrench on it and or a pair of pliers and a few other implements. This is almost like half of that, but it is more of a pocket knife rather than a multi-tool, which is much more convenient to carry in a pouch rather than in your pocket. It's pretty heavy, bulky, but this is a lot more compact. It does have some cool features. I watched some reviews on it before and after I made the purchase, but I just wanted to give my own thoughts on this real quick. One thing I noticed, the blade, it is long. I do like it. It feels like it's sharp. It is not hair shaving sharp, or at least from at least this particular one is not. So I mean, I tried to shave off hair on my arm. You can see that there's some missing there, but if I run this on there, I got a couple, but I mean, it's just not hair shaving sharp. The lock, it's the standard lock for Gerber. It's the same as on its center drive, which does a good job. It actually, there's no play in it laterally or up and down, so it does keep it nice and tight. Due to its size and the fact that there's not much meat to really grab on, it's hard to open with your finger one-handed, but it's certainly doable. I was able to just do it right there. So it's certainly something that you can do. However, I have fairly slender fingers. They are a little bit longer than normal. Normal people my height, I guess. But still, I was able to do this. You do have to kind of get a weird grip on it, though, just to get your fingers in the right position to be able to open it. I'm sure through use that this will loosen up. I doubt I'll ever be able to like flick it open, but still, it's pretty good, pretty useful. On the bottom, they have, they're kind of calling it a hammer. You have to have really good aim, otherwise you're going to nail the meat of your hand on whatever you're nailing. But it is something that you can use to pound against. It does pop open and does lock open pretty nicely. It does take some force to get it to close back up, but it is a small pry bar, so you get it under a nail. Not your fingernail, but a nail or something you have to pry out, and you can leverage against that to get it out. And you notice it's at an angle, so when it's nice and flat to get under something, it will be angled up. So let's say there's a flat surface, you get it in there, and you still have some room to actually leverage without knocking your fingers on the surface. It is also a bottle opener, as you can see. So you can just get this right under a bottle cap and pop it right off. On the other side, this is where you have some of your other tools. This is the drive portion of it. It does not lock, and as you can see, there's nothing stopping it from actually making the other stuff pull out. So when you do open this up, you do have to hold down the other implements. Not really that big of an issue. Some people in reviews have said, "Oh, that really sucks. You got to put a slip joint in there and what have you." It doesn't really bother me. It's not that big of a deal. What is kind of a big deal, though, is that it doesn't lock. It is here. Now, it is tight. It's not going to go anywhere. And as you're driving, you're probably going to have your finger on it anyways, just for leverage. So it's not going to come back out to you. You might want to put your finger on it at all points to, as you're turning it to be able to ensure that it's not going to come back and, just get out of alignment with the actual body of the knife. But it is pretty good. I like how it's, it's not center drive. It's not like the one on the center drive where it kind of cocks in a little bit and then goes to the center of the tool. But it is centered enough on here where it's not that big of a deal. It does come with a reversible bit. It is 1/4-inch drive, so you can use your standard bits in here. This one is, as you can see, a flathead and a Phillips head. Of course, you can always carry other ones. You can't really use one of the longer drive ones in here, like one of the ones you use as an impact bit in like your impact driver. So it does have to be one of these small bits, but that's not really that big of a deal. This one's pretty nice in that it does include both, but you don't obviously have to use both. You can use just a standard, single tool, single implement, Phillips head, number 1, 2, 3, 4, what have you, or a flathead. In order to gain access to the other tools, you have the scissors here, and the scissors are actually accessible under here. If you have nails, you can get your nail under there and you can pull this up. If you don't have nails, it's going to be kind of hard to do. The only way you're really going to be able to get it up is, I guess, by pulling this up, because it will want to raise the scissors. But in its closed position, if you want to just open the scissors, you get your nail under here, and you can pull that up. And then, of course, it does flip out. They are pretty decent. You know, when you compare them to a Swiss Army knife, Swiss Army knives are generally going to lose about 1/4 of an inch in terms of length with regard to the scissors. These do have a decent spring, and so they do fly back pretty well. And with this little flat portion here, it's not uncomfortable if you do have to make small, quick cuts. But if you had to cut anything longer, then this could get pretty uncomfortable, because it's not that big of a surface for you to put your finger on. But in that respect, it is better than your Swiss Army knives, or most of your Swiss Army knives, because Swiss Army knives generally are not nearly as thick as this, and they don't have any flat portion, so they can really dig into your thumb and cause some discomfort. And when you're closing it, all you got to do is just close it this way. Now, someone had brought up that you're closing it against the edge of the scissors. I mean, these things are not that sharp, right? I don't think I'm going to cut my finger open by running my finger, even if it's, I mean, maybe if I put a ton of force on here and run it, then it might, but otherwise. And, when you're closing it, you notice that the back of the one side is protruding more than the actual blade. So as long as you push it from there, your finger is not making any contact with the blade portion of that arm of the scissors. And you can just close it right from there. The other implement on here is you can also raise the scissors from here. Sorry, there's another fingernail groove here that you can raise the scissors on. That's, to me, a little less comfortable than going in here. I guess just make sure you have a nail, or try and make sure you have a nail. I mean, I try and keep maybe like 1 millimeter, 1/16 of an inch of a fingernail. Try to. It's kind of hard to, but whatever. And then, of course, you have your awl here, which, again, is actually, it's tight. I just got this, so hopefully it'll loosen up. But you have your fingernail groove in there for the awl as well. Now, the awl is super sharp, and it's got a nice sharp point on there as well. So this will be able to drive through pretty much anything. I don't know if you can see that well, but you can drive through pretty much anything with this. The only drawback on it doesn't have a hole, so you can't really use it for threading. But obviously, there's ways you can get around that. It's a pretty slick knife. I like it. This is the Urban Blue, which really doesn't look blue. It looks more like a gray. But, I don't know. It's not orange. It's not black. It's not the gray that they have. So I kind of dig it. I'm happy with my selection on the blue. Couple of drawbacks. None of these lock. So you can't lock any of these. You can't lock the awl. You can't lock the scissors. I guess it's not that big of a drawback. Again, with the center drive, this is the one thing where you're going to be putting force that might push it in. Just make sure that you have your fingers on it to try and stop that from occurring. The only other drawback that I can think of on this would be that there is no belt loop. I mean, I know it's a pocket knife, so it is meant to go in your pocket, but it would be nice to actually have a belt loop on there. And so I might actually add one. I'm going to see if I can't fashion one out of stainless steel and maybe have it come down this side of the colored steel here, and just drill and tap some smaller screws in here to make it so that I can actually get a belt loop on here. Otherwise, I've kept it in my pocket. I've had it in my pocket for the last couple hours. I felt no discomfort. It hasn't run a hole in my pocket yet or anything like that. So I got to say, I dig it. For $31, it's $31.20, I think, right now on Gerber's site. It's a decent deal. This is not one of their, it's not like the suspension, which to me is just a cheap knife, multi-tool. I would not recommend that to anyone. It does have the feel of the center drive, which I believe is made in America. And it just feels so much better, so much higher quality than something like the suspension. Although I don't actually see anywhere on here where it says made in America or made anywhere else. I'm pretty sure this is made in the US, but it doesn't say. Well, I guess you can always go to the Gerber site and find out. So that's it for me. That's my review of the Gerber Armbar Drive. I dig it. It's probably going to be one of my EDCs. Thank you very much. Take care.